Welcome everyone to the Business Leaders Breakfast. I'm very lucky today to have Peter and Rob Mages, founders and owners of Clever Cookie Academy.
Thank you.
Yay.
So, welcome. Probably my first question is, tell us about your business. What is the Clever Cookie Academy and how did you start and where are you now?
Okay, so to wind it back, we're coming up to 4 years.
4 years. Yep.
We started the business in our shed on our property. So we live just outside of town. We had, I think it's a 6x8 shed. I had a brilliant idea towards the end of the school year that I was going to take some leave and, you know, maybe it would be fun to tutor a couple of students. You know, we don't want to lose our house. I think I need to do a bit of work.
Minor details.
I'll take a year's leave and we'll see what happens. And one student, you know, quickly ballooned to, I don't know, by the end of that term we had something like 80.
Yep.
At this point Rob was
I was still
working.
teaching and I kept getting these calls daily where Peter was going, the phone keeps ringing, the email keeps pinging, I need help, I can't, you know, this is growing. And she's a lot more, I guess, willing to take risk. I'm a bit more risk averse. And I was like, well, and then eventually she wore me down and we made the jump. And it started with one student in a little shed. There's now
we're over
400 students.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it's always scary when you first take that sort of step.
Yes.
It's terrifying.
Because you've got secure jobs.
That's right.
And it's like, okay, what happens if no one turns up?
100%.
Look, I still to this day, every time we go for a new enrollment period, which we're coming up now, I still to this day in the back of my mind go, what if nobody enrolled? You know, I still have that, and it's been going for 4 years. We've been growing and growing and growing.
But that's a cycle
But
of
I
our
still have
business. The cycle of our business is that it is it's a
turn by
join
turn.
us each term, even though parents will say, can we just, you know, enroll for the year? We've been looking at that, which is great that they want to do that. But that is the cycle of our business. You have to back yourself and you know, there has to be a point where you go, I'm going for it.
Yeah.
And it's really great, just to be honest, parents go, we want you for the whole year. I mean, and for cash flow, that is absolutely brilliant because it just goes, okay, I've got someone for the entire year, whereas opposed to
and it helps them because now they're, you know, their schedules are locked in, as you know, with kids, schedules are changing all the time, you know, soccer this, dance, whatever.
Sport,
That's right. So I think it helps them, give them a bit of certainty.
We're trying to work towards it. It's at the moment it's tricky, but it's a good problem to have. But enrollment periods are fierce because kids want to retain their places. We have a very, very high retention rate, which is really great. Great teachers, but you know, when it's enrollment time, the phones they're ringing because they want to know.
It just doesn't stop. I want this spot.
I want this spot, and we have a process where tomorrow we'll go out with our sneaky link, which is basically regular customers get access to this special link so that others can't gazump them. But then we have current customers gazumping themselves in a way. So we might have a kid that comes for physics, but they want to add maths or they want to add English. So we're lucky in that demand is high, which we, you know, we're very humbling.
I still get terrified when phones like a ring. I don't know if that'll ever go away.
And I have to laugh. Yesterday, a lot of phones went down in Orange.
Right.
So there was notices about sort of the phones getting contacted by. So it'd be your most terrifying experience.
Yeah, that's right. That would really play on my fears then.
So really, what made you decide to do this business transition from being teachers to tutors?
So I had a few health issues that were complicating things. So that was part of it. The leave was nice because there was a bit of a parachute, you know, and you could return.
You could try your ID.
That's right. It was trickier. I was a head teacher, and Rob was a classroom teacher. So, you know, it felt risky me jumping first, but you know, you make those family decisions, and we've done that our whole careers. Like we've taken risks and stuff. But I think really it was seeing that there was a need for this business. And it's not to say that, you know, teachers are crap, or it's more that the system. I think that the industry, that the system is broken in the country, and we could see that as classroom teachers. So we thought, you know, why not create a business that is a remedy to that? We can run our own thing. We can.
Well, and it's also,
run
I
what we
think,
want.
students come to us for a variety of reasons. It's not always because they feel like they're behind or they're struggling. Sometimes it's about being extended, being pushed.
I want to be the best.
Yeah. And some of it's even just it has nothing to do with being pushed or being behind. It's just a confidence game.
Yep.
And it's just hearing it maybe from a different voice. I'm sure. I know with my kids, I tell my kids 1,000 times to go do something, and it never happens. Someone else casually and passively it happens. So I'm like, how is that possible? What's a different voice? And I think that's part of it as well.
We constantly have parents. Can you ask Sean to? And we're like,
and
but they won't
it's one of those sort of things. Yeah, I have the same as a parent too.
Yeah.
I could sort of say something, but someone outside goes,
That's exactly
you need
right.
to do this.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, it's an interesting.
And it's a different role, I mean, same thing with a teacher. They're with their teachers every day.
Yeah.
They're hearing that voice. And sometimes it might not be even that we're saying something different. It's just, again, it's a different voice coming at them. That's,
it's going, actually, it's confirming what the teachers.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
There's a funny perception that it's only kids that are struggling, but it's really, if we looked at our numbers, there a lot of them are being extended, or they they really, like, I'm at the HSCN, so they might be the classic, really good at maths, terrible at English, and they want that #1 ranking. So it's I don't know. Some of the nicest calls from parents are things like, my kid hates school, they hate going, and generally it's because it's a confidence issue.
Yeah.
But now they're not whinging to go to school anymore. So it's the whole.
Or they're not having the fight of them doing their homework, or they're not. It's that kind of.
Yeah.
Lots of bonuses there. So, really, what do you love most about this business?
It's so hard.
For me it was completely unexpected. So we're small groups. And I think that was maybe one of the early perception challenges we had. Is a lot of people think of tutoring or something as kind of one-on-one or whatever. But what I don't think either of us ever predicted is, because we're small groups, we have kids from all kinds of different backgrounds, different schools, whatever, that are all in the same group together. And I think a lot of times kids have a perception, you go to this school, therefore you must be like this or like that, or, you're at that school, and they all sit here and they realize, no, we're all the same. We're all the same, but, same but different, really. And they realize that it doesn't matter what school they go to, there's great teachers, there's not so great teachers. There's lots of things that are happening really well. There's other things,
kids work hard, kids don't work hard.
That's right. They all, and that to me has been the greatest. I think also then is, we've had a little bit of love matching. We've I've debated if we should create our own little matchup app or something. I don't know, dating app, maybe not. But we've had a few little friends, people become friends that never met each other until they came here. Now they're they're bosom buddies, and they're going out on the weekends to parties, or they're going out to support each other's sporting events.
But I love the busting of stereotypes that are attached to particular schools. And I love that kids from different walks of life are able to come together. It was such an unexpected.
I never would have picked that.
We never went, that's what we're going to love, but that has become one of the greatest things.
And even watching, I think sometimes too, the kids championing the other kids.
Yeah.
The other day I had someone, they had their assessment result, and they were, it wasn't as great as I wanted it. Someone else, completely different school, who never met him until they came to this here Clever Cookie, and they went, what are you talking about? That's an awesome result. You did a great job. And I was like, that probably means more to them than us saying it. Like it's a peer that's kind of building.
Seeing them grow up, like we're now the kids, it's really special because now the kids, we're coming up to 4 years. So they were in year 8 in the shed. So, and they will affectionately call themselves sheddies, or we're the OG, like we're in the shed. They've grown up together, and they're, like a Kinross kid with an Orange Eye kid, with a Canopolis kid, with a Sheehan kid, with a Molon kid. Like it's just seeing all those kids now supporting each other, like they're at the pointy end. They're in year 12. They're in the hallway saying, how are your trials? And
they're talking about the next steps.
Or excited.
Gap year,
or my workplace has a job, let me hook you up. Or like it's just, we never could have imagined being that melting pot of not just schools, but socioeconomics, like everything. So that's really cool.
And I think that's absolutely amazing, especially you get that for yourselves. You get to step back and just look at that whole melting pot. And just go, no, I'm not focused on one school.
That's right.
No, and we're not. And that's the thing, like we do different events, whether they're paid or free. events, and kids want to come, like they want to come in their holidays, you know, to do more school essentially, but you know, or they want to come to any of the social events that we do. So we've created something special in terms of our atmosphere, and I think that's probably my favourite part. It's what Rob said, but to extend on that, it's just the atmosphere, and it's hard. You can't put your finger on it unless you come into this building at 4 o'clock.
It's the vibe.
It's the vibe.
The castle.
That's right, the vibe.
It's the vibe, and I'm so proud of that. There's no grey, sterile walls. There's no, you know,
that's something you should really be proud of, just quietly.
Yeah.
So your branding is amazing. How did you come up for idea of this fun branding with aspects to traditional tutoring?
Oh, I
Well, we will later on. We talk about our old lives, and I think in the questions on how that affected the way we started this business. But we did decide from the beginning that anything with our branding, with our atmosphere, look and feel, our socials was always going to be decidedly uneducational. And by that I mean no disrespect. I just mean we wanted to come at it in our cheeky
bit of fun.
our cheeky cookie way.
And also, you know, you get a lot of students, as you can imagine, that don't necessarily want to do extra schooling outside of school. You know, they'd rather be out kicking a ball or hanging out with their friends or whatever. And one of probably the most common bits of feedback we get is, you know, they come in for the first session, they go, well, I didn't even feel like a school. I didn't feel like I was, you know, and we worked hard on that.
So you want, if it feels non-schooly here, to sit here, you want your branding to obviously be an extension of that.
So, so it's non-sterile because people go, oh, this is not school. This
it is
a learning experience.
That's right.
It's a bit of fun too.
Correct.
Yeah. So we needed, you know, everything from the way the website copy was written to our images to our socials. I mean, we do ridiculous things on our socials.
Occasionally.
We're constantly. It's not like we're, you know, followed by millions, but we're literally stopped on the street in town to say, I saw that video you did with, you know, whatever ridiculous thing we get up to. And, you know, you have to meet your audience where they are. And our audience, it's interesting because it's kids, but it's parents. So we always have that sort of dual audience that we're trying to hit. But yeah, it is interesting when you do a reel, and we did a reel about toxic people. It's got like 30,000 or more, you know, views. So like we'll do things that go viral. And often when we have kids, like now that kids see what we do, kids are often like, can you make a reel with us in it? We haven't hit TikTok yet because it's like another thing to have to manage. But yeah, we definitely we're cheeky with our branding, and we kind of know our audience, and I feel like we write to them. And everything, we try to keep all of our branding together. But obviously when we started the business, we had a website I'd built on GoDaddy. You know, I felt like the writing was punchy, but it was pretty average.
Pretty basic.
And so as you level up, we went to a really great branding company, Your One and Only, and they helped us get the visual identity going. I think we sort of had the words, but we didn't have the visual identity, and now it's sort of all come together. But thank you.
No, it just it takes that sort of time. No one's an overnight success, and some of the first websites for businesses. You just want to go and cringe. No, but that's the way it is. So, what's been your biggest challenge to your business to date, and how have you overcome?
Do you want to go first? I think we've each got one.
Look, I touched on a little bit earlier. I think there was a perception of tutoring, you know, where you are sitting down one-on-one and you're helping, you know, Billy or Timmy or whatever, you know, with their homework. And it's so much more than that. You know, it's so much more from helping them. Yeah, we do help them with homework, but you know, we are all trained teachers. We all come, you know, we all come at this from, I guess, and not to say other tutors aren't, but you know, there are also a lot of other tutors out there that are happen to be really good at this subject or whatever, and they have a place. But where we come out, I guess, from a different angle, and we're coming at it where, you know, it's not all about the X's and O's of it, you know. So it is about building that confidence. It is about, you know, cheering the successes, and the success might not be a band 6. Maybe for this student, that's, you know, the best effort is a band 4, for example. You know, that kind of thing. That's letting them know, well, that's okay. Just achieving your best, that kind of thing. So I think there's some perceptions early on, you know, that it had to be that one-on-one. You know, we found a picture, and our our original timetable. And
But
it was,
wasn't framed
it didn't even
somewhere.
have, it didn't even have surnames on it because it was small enough that, you know, it was Timmy, Sally, like, and it didn't matter. Like that's all it was. And you know, and it did. And that was a transition period. And we started with one student with Peita, and then we slowly, you know, built into the small groups or whatever. And you know, and that's also underpinned by research saying that small groups is
That's right. We don't do
highly
anything
effective
without
and stuff. But I think in some, for some students, the one-on-one is probably going to be the better option, and we'll be happy to tell, you know, parents and students that ourselves as well. But I think many have been surprised at the small groups and how well it can work from so many different angles, not just the academic, but the social and the, you know, all the other bits that we kind of talked about. So,
and it's really building the student totally, not just
that's
exactly right.
That's
There's
exactly
the whole
right.
world of the student. Yeah. So for me, and it's a good news story, but I think one thing we weren't expecting was some blowback from teachers. And I can take things very personally with the business sometimes, and I think there was a perception, especially when we were sort of blowing up a little bit, that we were, I guess, teachers were starting to go, well, what am I not giving that kid if that kid thinks they need extra help, and actually talking to kids and saying, you know, don't go there. And like we did have a few just early on. That's all, you know, since then we've absolutely forged relationships, and I would say, you know, we have stellar relationships with all of the local schools, and we have teachers. It's completely flipped, and it's recommendations now. But I think it's human nature at first to maybe, you know, you do as a teacher, you take it really personally. So I can see where maybe, you know, and
teaching's a very judgmental job. You know what I mean? Like everybody's been to school to some point, and everyone feels like, you know, you probably never go to the doctor and go, you sure you set my arm right? I don't, you know what I mean? But you go to a teacher, go, oh, you didn't teach that very well. You know, everyone seems to have that opinion. So I do think teachers do tend to take things very
personally.
And so then I think it's hard too, because you've got parents there going, why isn't Johnny number one?
Sure.
Exactly right.
Like,
Sure.
he doesn't put in the effort.
Sure.
Or
that's right.
He's not. There's horses for courses.
It's
different techniques. People get on with other people. I remember going through school having the same sort of issues. Why aren't you good at that? Well, just.
And you know what? It's different schools have different pressures. Kids have, as we said, different goals. Like at my end, it is those, they want those band sixes, and you know, it depends on which operator. We have 13 teachers, so but school, there are different levels of pressures on teachers, and you know, we're not at all undermining that. We're part of the team, and I think now that that's realised, you know, I think they're really thrilled, because they realise that, hey, if you get through to that kid that for some reason either we don't mesh, or hey, I have 30 kids in my classroom and you've got smaller numbers, it's a no-brainer. To me, it's a win-win. Like, you can say that kid got a band 6 and you were the primary teacher. Like,
ultimately it's about that student.
It's not about
us. And it's about the student.
And also, I mean, I guess we're not constricted by the system. You know, so, and I get it, you know, teachers, they have to, you know, they've got to get through certain amounts of, you know, syllabus and whatever. And when you're teaching 30 kids, 25 kids, and you go, okay, well, there's, you know, 5 or so that are probably bored. There's 10 or so that probably have no clue what's going on. And there's a bunch in the middle or somewhere in between. It's really hard. And you go, well, I'd like to spend another, you know, week on this topic, whatever it is, but I got to keep going because I've got to get through this. Whereas if I want to, you know, in maths, for example, if I want to spend 10 weeks doing nothing but algebra, well, I can do that. You know, so we can provide that support kind of in a different way than what they can maybe get.
It's really hard. Like, we've both been in classrooms where you've had, you know, my record I think is 47 kids, like kids on the floor, like you know, and we're in a teacher crisis at the moment. So we certainly don't want to be like combative in any way. We want to be part of the team, but it's been like, that's where I said it's a good news story. It was tricky and something we didn't expect, but more than overcome. So
and it's that complementary service.
That's exactly right.
I think a lot of teachers have only got that limited time where
that's
they
right.
to spend that extra time to get that student over the line.
That's right.
That's right. That's been quite good. So what local support have you got to sort of help your business to get it where it is from today, from your initial starts?
We've had some visits with you, I know, early on. Who else? So, like, I think I think of this on two levels. I think of who have we reached out to, and also who do we support, really. But it's twofold. Our providers, like our accountant Thrive, they're amazing.
Yeah, Adrian Atchison at Thrive Advice, that team's been
so great,
phenomenal.
and has gone beyond just the figures. Like he's thinking,
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
It's that business advice.
Yeah.
That's right.
Figures,
That's
what
exactly
do the
right.
figures mean?
And we met
That's
him
exactly
just
right.
like randomly at a small business event. Do you remember?
That's right,
He was
yeah.
just sitting in the room and we hit it off.
Yeah.
Our lawyers, not that we've hardly needed them really, but to set up an employment contract, all that sort of
Yeah,
stuff.
Shane covered.
They've been great. Who else? Obviously, in terms of mentors, I know we're going to talk about mentors later, but I work with Pip Brett from Jumbled.
Yep.
And she has very much been helpful in terms of I guess just dreaming bigger for the business, but I know we're getting to that later.
I think sometimes, you can't see the
Such a
forest in the
vision.
trees, and that's why that's why it's great having, like we were talking about with Thrive, and having that kind of almost business coach advice kind of thing, because sometimes you can't see beyond your own hands.
No, because you're working each day and it's going, how's it going?
That's it.
Yeah.
And sometimes, with the pit bread, it's going, how can I make this a bit more fun?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That's what I really like about her, the fun factor.
Yeah, I think that's why we've developed a friendship, because we're similar in that way, and we want to go to work and enjoy it, and we're passionate about what we do, and that comes through in your work.
Sure.
The other thing too with local is we're passionate about, I guess, supporting ex-students. So like it's almost comedic, like the plumbing will go and we're like, right, who became a plumber? All we have to do is whack a message up in stories, don't we? Like, we need a plumber.
Yeah.
We did that with the electricals.
Can't
Can't remember what went wrong, but straight away we had 3 or 4 ex-students. I'll come help you out. That's so special.
And that's the thing, that's the most amazing thing, really supporting the economy. So you'd be aware there's a skills summit at the moment.
Yes.
And I think it's supporting these future students.
Yeah.
That's right.
What are the opportunities?
Yeah.
So
They're not all uni ATAR. Like there's a whole world out there.
And then just go a little bit beyond that is even, so many customers we have that have different small businesses within town as well.
Oh yeah.
And whilst, we'll obviously all try to support one another, but it's sometimes it's great just to have a chat to them. Again, it's that same issue but different perspective. You might be talking to someone who has a cafe or a winery or retail or whatever, and we're all having similar issues, but a different perspective. You go,
like no one can find people at the moment. Like that's a common. Like we're all hiring.
that's right.
Where are the people? We have really. I would say in the last year, the first couple of years we just had our head down. Honestly, I feel like we're now trying to network a little bit more and having a chance to go. Oh, that's our customer. That's our customer. How can we come together and collaborate? So that's exciting moving into the future. I think more of that.
I think that's really exciting. So basically, how do you balance work and life? Which is it's a loaded question, especially where a lot of your tutoring is.
I heard a great quote the other day: "Balance is bullshit." Not sure if I'm allowed to quote, but swear. But I really kind of think it is. We do our best. We've recently started yoga on Monday mornings for our teachers. And that's been nice. And we force ourselves, like it's happening. We're doing it. And I don't think we do the best job at balance, being that we're here we drop our own kids to school. And I think a common misperception is that you just show up at 4 and you teach. No.
And then you leave and they forget all the extra work.
The business just runs itself.
So we do a full business day and then our students arrive. And I think, kids don't realise that, parents don't realise that.
No.
We're here administrating, marketing, planning our lessons, marking, we're doing all of that in the day, and then the kids arrive and we have to almost schizophrenically all right, I'm not a business person now, I'm a teacher.
I need to lift myself.
Well, that's right.
It's been a hard day.
That's right.
So our hours are ridiculous. They're 12-hour days at an absolute minimum. And so I think our weekends, when we want to be the kinds of people that are like, let's go to food week and let's enjoy Orange. we're just exhausted. So it's a nice,
fireplace.
yeah. It's home time. It's doing some cooking. It's, you know, I mean, we do get out,
Spend some
but
time with the kids.
yeah.
You know, unfortunately, our kids are here probably way more than they'd like to be.
We are lucky
But,
we've got good networks in terms of like they have their things they go to, and we're lucky proximity wise. Like our daughters are across at United Dance. We're lucky we can kind of, you know, get them places.
That's right.
When we first started, they spent way more time here than I'm proud to admit. But I really think we're getting somewhere now with the family balance there and working together. Like, you know, without getting soppy, like I met Rob. I went on to America on a tennis scholarship when I was 17. So I met Rob there. He was on the men's team. So what, I was 17. You know, I'm 40. I always forget how old I am. 43. Yeah. So that's
how old are you? How old do you feel?
Yeah, inside I'm not, but that's a chunk of our lives.
Yeah.
And you know, me in a foreign country for a lot of it. So I think we've kind of gotten used to working together from a younger age, like whether that was us as athletes or juggling school and
I think also naturally we balance each other quite well.
Yeah.
You know, like I said earlier, Pete's more likely to take a risk. I'm more likely to put the brakes on a bit. She's more likely to charge forward.
Let's think about
And sometimes I need that kick up the ass to go, hey, you need to jump into this and go. And sometimes she needs someone to pull her back a little bit, go, just slow down and touch, you know. And so, and it's very rare that both of us go off the deep end at the same time. It happens.
You have to ask Gay.
Gabe's probably the better.
She witnesses a few stouters, but they're never, you know, we're pretty. You get it out, and then you move on. And we have our own separate life. Like he has his hobbies, I have my hobbies, and I think you get so tunnel visioned with your business. I know for me, I need some outlets. I'm involved with the local musical theatre company. Rob's got his basketball. You know, we've got our kids, so we get out of each other's hair enough not to kill each other.
Most
I know, and that's a hard sort of one, especially when it's a family business going with each other all the time. I need my separate space, so I think that's amazing for that work-life balance too.
Just have to do some other things.
So you don't kill each other. I have the same. So what's been the most successful form of marketing to get the word out of our clever cookie?
I feel like
Can I just point out, you know, so every time we talk about marketing, I just sit
he's involved. Well, every time you talk about finance, I would be doing this.
That's that.
That's right. That's right.
Like we have different skills, so that's probably really helpful. I think I'm an ex-publicist. So in like back before I retrained to teach, and very much my role was what exposure can we get these brands for free. So I think that's just ingrained in me, and I'm a powerful believer in strong word of mouth. And so I knew that word of mouth, if we had the products that we should, which we vet our teachers very carefully, and we're very hard on ourselves as operators and reflective about what could be better. So word of mouth's important, but I do think social media has been our biggest. So like we've never spent money on an ad ever. And so there's no sort of paid advertising yet. I do realise as we grow the business, and you know, we've got some hairy goals in terms of digital things that we want to do, digitising a lot of our masterclasses. So a lot of our in-person experiences, we need to stop, you know, switching our time for money, and we need to start getting them online. And so that will require more, I think, investment and, you know, supporting some of our organic. In
terms of advertising.
The success of our organic social stuff, we need to start supporting. It's just a numbers game. Like, but I would definitely say our socials tell our local community most definitely who we are right now. And as we move beyond that, and we are getting that now, we're getting customers. They don't know us. They don't know that we came from the shed. They don't, you know, people dialing in from Sydney, and we have students from everywhere now. So I think as we grow, that strategy will remain the same, but we'll need to start supporting it with some paid advertising. We want to get into some really cool collaborations. So we probably have some cool stuff happening with that. But ironically, I'm probably the worst publicist in the world. I've just been too busy to do what I am trained to do. And I think if I wrote a couple of press releases, we would have a lot of press. But it's we're smashed with work.
And I think sometimes too, it's that organic growth there.
Yeah.
The most powerful thing is I can advertise and I can say I'm the best in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But unless someone else says that,
Yeah, that's right.
it's
Yeah.
not real. So
Yeah.
a lot of the times that word of mouth can go, hey,
Yeah.
look at these guys. Yeah, this is what they can do. This is what happened. That's the best advertising.
Of course.
That has been, it's been word of mouth and socials for sure. And often with socials, it is testimonials or it is results from kids or the results speak for themselves or like some wins that our kids have had, not just with academically, but what they're now brave enough to do that we'd like to think, we're a part of that.
No, that's amazing. So probably my next question, mentoring can play a very important part in your life there. Who do you use as mentors and what's probably some of the best advice you've been given?
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So I probably don't have any one specific, I suppose, mentor or someone that I meet with regularly. But so my previous career, I was in sales and telecommunications when we lived in Sydney, and so I've had, I guess, the luxury of being able to interact with a lot of different business owners of different sizes, and that's probably been my informal mentoring network. So I'm still really good friends with a lot of my ex-customers, and I'm always picking their brain, and it's funny because every business I think goes through similar journeys or cycles, as they're starting up and as they're growing or whatever. It might be different industries and you have slightly different pain points, but there's a lot of similarities. And it's just been really, really interesting, hearing these people say, oh, well, geez, when we did it, we did this, but, geez, social media wasn't as big a thing. Or, you hear this different. And so that's probably been more of an informal thing, probably a few beers of wine, having a chat going, what's worked, what hasn't worked, what would you do in this situation? Or even them just going, have you thought about this? I know this guy over here. Go talk to Wayne. He'll do about, and it's that kind of, I think, network from a previous life that's kind of helped, which has also been good because they're not in the education. They don't have maybe some, preconceived notions and things.
This is our lane.
That's right. That's right. They're thinking about from a wider perspective, and we're going, we could tweak that, make that work in this industry or that, or that kind of thing. So I think that's been huge, and I've been lucky to have some really good former managers who I'm still really close to and in contact with, giving lots of great advice. So I guess mine's probably a bit more of an informal network, but valuable all the same. Yeah.
The other thing that he doesn't say that it's not technically a human mentor, but he reads. I'm an English teacher, and he outreads various, business books from different, I think reading is your mentor, honestly.
Probably to a degree. That's quite a good point. I find it interesting, successful people from any, whether it's business, sport, arts, military, whatever. I find that interesting in trying to find, what drives them, what are some of the commonalities? And it's amazing what commonalities you will find from all different walks of life that is common amongst these really successful people. So I do. That's probably true.
I'm going to ask a related question now. Off topic. What's been your favourite book in the last year?
On business?
Yeah.
Oh, that is a really good. Look, this is kind of silly, but I come back to two books all the time. I've read them before, but I read them I always read them at least once a year, from very different perspectives. I like Steve Jobs' autobiography for a variety of different reasons. Sometimes, a lot of people, would you read about him, they'll say he was too direct and he was a bit of a bully or whatever. Whereas I'm probably a little on the other way. I don't like to upset people. I try to, let's mend fences and let's all hug and get on and blah, 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 blah. So I don't know. I like it from that perspective that he was I don't consider myself very creative or visionary. That's Peita, but it is interesting. I don't know. I find it kind of motivational in some ways. And sometimes I do think the direct path is the best one. Sometimes it's actually more polite to say, no, you stuff that up. Than it is to go, and waffle around it. So that another one is Open, which is actually Andre Agassi's book.
It's fantastic.
Which sounds kind of silly, but I don't know. I find it. I don't know how it necessarily speaks to me, I guess, and it's hard to put into words. But I find I go back to that book at least once a year, and again, I find that quite motivational. I think of just, I don't know, pushing through adversity in terms of not being afraid to have other people help you. Achieve your goals.
He had different lives as well, and I think that's what
it as well.
Kind of this. The name is called like multi-potentiality or something, but it's like people that have different talents and strengths and different versions of themselves and different lives, and I feel like that's probably what you're attracted
also
to.
Part of it is he and maybe part of it's because of a tennis background as well.
Yeah.
People struggle to understand, part of the book is he's talking about how much he hates tennis. Tennis made him incredibly wealthy. Tennis made him incredibly famous. Tennis opened so many doors for him. He's opened all these charter schools in the US, all this type of stuff. And yet he had this kind of, I don't think a lot of probably.
Yeah, only tennis players will understand.
I'd say any successful people have, to whatever they're successful and have that love-hate relationship, because it does, it takes your kind of life away.
And a business can do that paradox. You can love it.
Relate to that. I can understand how, that yin and yang, I guess, that push and pull of it. But what's another? Tim Ferriss. He's
you read The Successful Habits a lot.
Tim Ferriss is
and
really
podcasts, like we're nerds basically, which is why.
Join the club.
Like I guess what we try to say to kids, like you don't sort of finish this HSC point and then you never learn again. Life is to be a good employee is to be a great learner and to want and have that thirst.
And and to take it, if I were to probably point out that one commonality that's across, I said all the different, it doesn't matter what they're successful in, that one commonality is they're not afraid to continue to learn.
Yeah.
They're not afraid to, whatever it is in their sport, maybe they need to tweak their, their training, or they need to different strategies, tactics, whatever, or in business. Oh, it's that not afraid to learn.
And just curiosity.
Yeah. Anyway, that's got to be me. Surely that's enough for me.
That's fine. I'll pass it on.
Okay. So I'm a little bit of all of that stuff as well. I think we got to a certain level and I was like, we need a mentor. Who do we go to? And I did find myself, I am a passionate customer of Jump Foot anyway. But I did find myself going to Pip, she's local, she's amazing, she's creative, everything is colourful, she's fearless, and I like to think that some of those characteristics that I have or I can find in myself, and I think what she's helped me realise is that you need to jump before you think you're ready for things. And I always had that, like Rob will say you're the risk taker, but I had the parachute for that little bit, and I think sometimes as humans we let fear control our actions, and we're worried about perceptions and letting what will this person think or that person think. I definitely think in the last year to 2 years I've just completely thrown out the window really what other people think of myself, my fashion choices, my business, my everything. And made some choices that have been really scary, and they're not just business choices, that like personal choices. And I do think it was her sort of saying, when you look at someone really successful and you think, oh, things just happen for them, they've all had those ouch moments where, and to sit with her and, hear about what has worked, but also what didn't work and how disappointing that was, and realise that we have a lot in common, whether it's staff or whatever you're doing. So she's definitely, and she's made me think, I think more laterally. Recently we're looking to purchase a property. It isn't going to work out, but in terms of just not giving up on the face of it, like what are the other ways you can go about that thing? She's inserted, I don't know, there's been something in terms of just go for it and just be who you are, and if they don't like it, well, then they're not your people.
That's right.
And we've become very
your tribe.
That's right.
Sorry, I've now talked my way around to it. That's the biggest thing I've learned from her, is she will happily go, okay, well, if that customer isn't my vibe, they're not my vibe. And I'm not going to try to change myself or my business model for them. I'm going to stay who I am. And I feel like we've done that lately.
Yeah, and I think early on that's probably common. I think a lot of new businesses, they will. You've got to survive.
You're trying to be everything, and you become a bit sterile.
That's right. That's right. And so I think you're right. It's helped us to kind of identify who are our tribe, who are our people, and if you're not, that's okay.
Yeah, it doesn't mean we don't like you. It just means you're not our people.
It doesn't mean that we're not providing a good service. It doesn't mean that it's just not a right fit for whatever reason, and that's okay.
No, I think that's really important. So probably my next question is, what's your prediction for what's coming up in the years across the Central West?
Oh, geez,
especially in your industry.
Look, I think it's interesting. I think in some ways COVID has probably helped the Central West.
Yep.
I think there's been a lot of growth in terms of population, whatever, coming up from Sydney or wherever. I think before there was a lot of businesses like to say we support flexible work and blah, 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 but they didn't.
Yeah, that was great.
Whereas now they do. They kind of have to. And I think, you've got a lot more people in Orange who still have their Sydney job, for example, but they work here 3 or 4 days a week and they're only in Sydney for 2 or 3 days a week, whatever. So I think that's kind of changing the dynamic a little bit. I think it's probably from a socioeconomic standpoint, it's probably giving a little bit of influx of cash. But I think for our business, it'll probably impact us more because there is more of a greater acceptance to online.
Yeah, I think that's the
big one, whether it's courses or meetings or what, all that type of stuff. That's now the norm. Whereas before that was some alien. Oh, what is it? Now it's that just happens. So I think that'll probably be, and that's Peter kind of alluded to it earlier, that we have some big hairy goals that we're wanting to get into in kind of the digital space. That I think that'll be that's probably one of the drivers.
We'll never lose our in-person. Because I get in the car and travel lots of schools. Like, this is my peak season, and I'm off and I'm speaking to 200 kids, and I'll miss not doing that. But I think that at the same time, like, we're only, you're only one person. Yeah,
that's right.
So, and a lot of the information, every kid in New South Wales should have access to what we're giving. So I think if we can package it up properly, it's sometimes it's great when things sell out, but it's also demoralising because we've got holiday masterclasses coming up. We've just sold 90 places to those, so the kids going to come in the holidays. But then I kind of think, and I see it through my travels to different schools, like, it's unfair that a kid that lives in Sydney or somewhere else, they can't access that. So, and I know it would benefit them. So definitely, I think education is moving into that space. But for us, whether it is virtual, regular tutoring that's virtual that kids are able to access us on, or whether it's more boot camp style things that we're going to look at, or courses that sit in a little learning portal that kids can log into, that we need to, that's where we're looking to extend
to address the whole audience. No, that's actually amazing. So, what advice would you give someone who wants to switch from being an employee to being a business owner, apart from don't do it?
Do you know what?
I'd say the other way, because I initially, I would never have considered myself very entrepreneurial.
Yep.
But now looking at it, I'd go, if this all fell over tomorrow, I'd be going, what's our next venture? I've enjoyed.
So you can redo it again.
Yeah, whether it's this or something different. I've really enjoyed that. I think the process of it. Maybe part of it's been doing it with with people. Like, I think we've had a lot of fun doing it, and it's not saying it's been easy, obviously, but my probably number one thing would be decisions.
Yeah.
I don't think you realize as an employee the number of decisions that have to be made on a daily basis. And when you own a business, particularly a small business, as you get bigger, there's different layers, you have different people.
Yeah, the weight of the decisions just change. But
every decision from, we need more toilet paper. We need, do we need to expand office space? Do we need to hire someone? Do we have enough money to make? What's happening with it? It's just the plethora of decisions that, from tiny to big to whatever and everything in between.
I think it's a personality thing too.
Yeah.
I think when I look back on myself as an employee, and like, this is going to sound like I'm blowing smoke, but if you're someone who has a bit of a workaholic, I'm not saying hustle culture is good or anything like that, but if you're someone who was a good company girl, you were an asset to that place, and you struggled to leave work at work, then you're the right personality for a business, right? Because I can either go and be for example, I could go and be the best teacher at a school, and I'm like I was Minister's Awarded. I have the highest award I can get for teaching, right?
Yeah.
However, what is going to change for me? What is going to excite me every day if I don't have my own thing? And that's what it came down to for me. If you're someone who, it was described to me once in my old job as humans are either aliens or they're civilians. And it was in a different context when it was described to me, but she was kind of saying, like, civilians, they're good company people. They're happy with that assurance. Their pay is coming in. They don't want to call the shots. That's a civilian, whereas an alien is someone probably a bit nuts, like us, but they thrive under that pressure and those things. So I think people's perceptions are, it'd be so great running a business, and they probably don't have an idea of the stress of it.
Well, it's like anything, you know. You look at someone's Facebook or Instagram feed or whatever, and no one posts the sad stuff. You know, they're on holidays, and you go, man, I want that person's life.
Yeah.
You know, and it's the same thing here. We're
It's all-
posting.
They spent 3 hours doing that.
That's right. Everything looks fun and wonderful, and it's not that we don't have fun, but it's not all. Yeah, it's not all that, and you know.
And that's why I think like some of our social media posts where we are vulnerable are the best, always have the best optics on them, because we're cutting the bullshit and we're saying, you know,
This is who we are.
this is who we are. And like,
We're human.
That's
yeah,
right.
like when I go back through, I can see like there's a photo of me in my formal dress in year 10, and I've got braces. You know, it's not a sexy picture, but it came from listening to girls and them attacking their bodies and you know, being really down on themselves just about everything. And I went, no, I'm going to reveal this, and I'm going to reveal all the things that at that age really troubled me, and I'm going to tell them that now none of it matters.
No, that's
you know,
right.
and like
exactly
that's something that we can do is we can just be really honest, because you know, at a school you have to be really careful, obviously, and certain schools are even more careful, but you know, they all sign code of conducts and stuff like that. We can just let it all hang out, you know. And
This is me.
That's right.
And this is life, and this, you know, you're worried about this particular girl's being mean to you today, but you know what, it's probably coming from a place of this, and 2 days from now it's going to be old news.
That's right.
Don't avoid school, go to school holding your head up high. Like it's stuff like that, that you know is academia is important, but so is the whole child and their happiness.
No, that's great. So I'll just go to our next session, which is the Fast Five, which I really love. So 3 dinner, dream dinner guests, and what menu would you have?
The menu, I didn't even think about the menu. And I can't follow directly.
I did. I read the question.
Okay, go. Listen, kids, read the question in exam.
You're going?
I've got my guess, but I need time to think about the menu. So you go.
Look, this was, I was telling you before we started this to me was actually the hardest question, because I was struggling to narrow it down to 3. And I think part of it's because, like Pete said, I read so much. I'm like, I would love to sit down and have a beer at this kind of, or this person, pick their brain, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, if I had to narrow it down, if you're going to limit me to 3, I'll probably say Winston Churchill.
Okay.
Steve Jobs.
Yep.
And Roger Federer.
Okay.
And I'd be purely selfish when it came to the menu, because I really love Indian food.
Yep.
So I'd probably pick some kind of an Indian food, or an Indian meal would be my bugger them. I don't care if they like it or not, but that's what I'm
Indian. Okay, I would. Okay, these are my 3, and I'll tell you briefly why. I would have Beyonce. I'd have Zoe Foster Blake from the Go-To skincare line, and I'd have Elizabeth Gilbert. So Beyonce, obviously musically, you know, Paul's focus is such an amazing performer, but I also think people underestimate her lyricism and the positive impact I think she is having on young women empowering themselves. Zoe Foster Blake, look, she's a writer. She's a complete mogul in terms of she runs Go-To skincare. And if you have a look at their marketing, their branding, I think that is the inspiration for a part of our cheeky voice when I really think about it. Really clever woman, and she's fierce, she's unapologetic, she just goes for it. And Elizabeth Gilbert, she's a writer, she wrote Eat, Pray, Love, but she probably wrote, I think, the most important book to me, to my life, which is called Big Magic. And I suggest that for anyone. It's written about the creative process, but it'd be great, yes, if you're an artist of any kind, but entrepreneurial as well. And it's very much about fear and its impact on your creative process, and it's just the best book. That's the book I would force on anyone to read. And we saw her speak at an event. It was just incredible. What would we eat? Oh gosh, I'm going to go entree, main, dessert. Entree, I'd have a delicious cheese souffle of some kind. Main, I would probably have a delicious sort of really nicely done pork belly or something something wintry and warming. And dessert, I'm always an alamodi girl, so I'd want some kind of, like, I don't know, really delicious sticky date or something, a yummy something, but it's got to have the ice cream. It's got to have it alamodi. So that's what I do.
Okay, so in your opinion, what's the best cafe? Oh, it's a loaded question. Cafe or restaurant in the
I'll
region?
go cafe, you go restaurant.
Done. Go for it.
Cafe, I'm going to say Groundstone. And I'm going to eat the veggie bowl. It's just
Veggie breakfast bowl. You do like the veggie breakfast?
it's I never, you know, when sometimes you
It's your go-to food.
yeah,
That's your
I
go-to.
will never that is what I will eat. It's just
You like the little bitsy bits. You like
I
the
love
little
it. You've
bit
got
of
the
this, little
stretched
bit of
ends,
that.
you've got this sort of grain of some kind, then you've got your veggies, optional add halloumi.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Which you always do. So
Yeah, which I do,
you gotta
yeah.
have one. For me, restaurant would be Fiorini's. So Fiorini's Italian restaurant. They're based out kind of near towards Mount Carmel.
It's like a local thing that even sometimes locals don't know about it.
So it's an Italian restaurant that is just exquisite. It's very rustic, very simple.
Family style.
We've had it's kind of maybe because it reminds us of how we started. It's almost like a shed. It's not a shed, but it's kind of like a small little place that's kind of almost out in, it's not in a paddock, but it's kind of out in a little rural setting, and it's just magic.
I think it's
part of it
nostalgic too.
well, when we first decided when we were moving from Sydney to Orange, someone recommended it to us, and so we went there, and it was middle of winter, and it was pitch black. You know, we're parking, we're kind of like stumbling around. We walk in the door, and you open it up, it's just light. There's all this noise of people laughing and talking. There's a wood fire going, and the food is just outstanding. So
I can still
I'd
walk
say
to that
Fiorini's.
table and go, that's the table that we made the decision to move here. And move our children and sell our house in Sydney.
Yeah,
you know, like huge decision.
Yeah.
I feel like it ended there. Yeah.
But
Maybe a little park in the middle.
We should actually say to them, this table for two here.
That's right.
Yeah.
Better
That's a
probably.
good idea.
So, what do you think's the hidden gem in the Southwest? This is always a hard one.
This is a hard
Because
one.
I think there's so much about the Central West.
I think the Central West is doing a much better job at promoting itself, to be honest with you. I think there's fewer hidden gems because of that. I think they're doing a great job, whether it's Orange or some of the other towns. I think they're doing a really, really good job of saying, here's who we are, here's what we do. I know when we first moved, it was hilarious how many of our Sydney friends, we go, oh, what do you guys do for groceries? I'm like, well, I don't know.
To any of the
There's
10
6 different grocery stores within it's like
It's that Blue Mountain divide.
yeah, that's exactly right. They think there's nothing, tumbleweeds are on the thing that exists beyond the Blue Mountains kind of thing. But I think the Central West is actually doing a really, really good job of promoting some of their businesses, some of their events, and I think they're doing a good job of getting more events, like more, different style of events. I think for me, if I had to pick one gym, this is going to be really funny because it's not my scene. I am not. When it comes to like musical theatre, it's just not me. I struggle.
He hates them. He
Hates them.
Why are they singing? Why can't they just say
the damn thing. I'm going down the stairs. Just walk down the damn stairs. But I will say this: I am absolutely, and it's not just because Peter's involved with them, but I'm absolutely blown away. The Orange Theatre Company, what they put out in terms of their performances, I'm absolutely, it's amazing. Even for someone who doesn't truly appreciate all I do appreciate. I can appreciate anything that people are putting their heart and soul into. But for someone who doesn't, I guess, get it naturally, I'm blown away. For someone that's a completely amateur,
And punch above their weight.
and what they produce is really
It's a lot of work.
quite extraordinary. So that'd be my hidden gem, I guess.
That's really nice. They're going to be so impressed because they know you hate musicals. And he actually comes out of, I think pure love for me. But
she tells me I have to.
no,
But
well, I
we'll
don't. So
Just go yes.
Yes,
for me, see, it's not hidden anymore. But I feel like I felt it quite life changing for me was attending the huddle.
Yep.
And now it's known. But the first one was smaller and not as big. But I would say that to think that an event of that caliber takes place in the Central West is something I'm really proud of.
The fact that many people travel from all over the country.
All over, it's like they had Western Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I look at that and we have, again, we've said big hairy goals, but we definitely have some event goals, but more for for kids, the kids that we want to dream big. So I look at something like that and I go, why can we not, replicate that? Kids deserve something just as inspiring. Kids deserve to see what they could be. So that's been a bit of a gem thing for me, I will say. But there's so many.
Yeah.
So favourite holiday destination in Australia?
Anywhere
that you've been?
So we're living Orange,
On your
that's
bucket-
warm, doesn't it?
on your bucket list. So it's warm today.
I've
That's a couple of days ago.
if you said to me, what do you not like? It most certainly, I know to get the nice food and the yummy wine, I know we need that weather, but I struggle. Like
Yeah.
I really struggle with the cold. So I crave getting anywhere warm.
Yeah.
We like the South Coast. We really like
South Coast New South
Atherton and
Wales.
that.
Husky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
And we only discovered it purely because of COVID. So when COVID hit, we were going
Fiji.
Fiji, and then that got cancelled.
Yeah.
And it was last minute right on Christmas. Of course, everything was booked out.
Yeah.
And we just went, right, well, a certain amount of radius, we didn't want to drive too far. And we went, oh, we can get a place here. And now we fall in love with it. We go
Just
back
love
every year.
it.
So
The beach run and
Yeah.
you know.
Did you do the whale?
yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
I get terribly motion sick and I will ruin it for everyone. So the ones that don't spew everything.
Yes. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was amazing. But it's funny, since we lived in Orange, we probably appreciate Sydney more. Even though we
Yes.
lived and worked in the CBD, but now we're going back as tourists. Like, we do more in Sydney now than we did when we actually lived there,
Yeah.
which is stupid. But you know, it was literally at our doorstep and we did nothing.
No, I was
And-
based out of Cairns and I was
Yeah.
exactly the same until I
Yeah.
had friends come up. We
Yeah,
didn't do
yeah.
those
You
sort of things.
rediscover things, yeah, because I think even like, I think what's a great gem actually is the quality, not just the Orange Theatre Company, but the local theatre, like the Civic Theatre
Yeah.
and the acts
sure.
that they bring in. Like in Sydney, we would have, in our old jobs, we would have been like, oh, so-and-so is playing at the entertainment centre, oh, I can't be bothered, you got to park, you know, you live in the suburbs, you commute in. So we didn't do a lot.
No, we didn't.
But the fact that you can park there,
Yeah.
the show ends, you're in your car, like it's,
And yet you're home in well,
Yeah.
yeah,
We lived
like
in
it's-
Sydney for 10 plus years,
Yeah.
never once saw anything of the Opera House. Now that we lived in Orange,
Yeah.
we go to the Opera House a couple times a year to see different things. So I'm like,
I
how is this possible? It was like a 2-block walk from where I work, but now it's
yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So probably my second last question: favorite wine in Orange or the Central West?
This is hard because we have lots of wine customers.
Yeah.
But we're just going to say, what do you think?
my favorite is Bloodwood. I love Bloodwood.
That is,
I love Bloodwood.
I love their newsletters.
Oh,
They were so
we need to get them, we don't know about
I
them.
mean, they used to do them and they were absolutely amazing.
Really?
Good laugh and
Oh, they're hilarious. They're
I,
like,
I used to have with one of my uncles. We used to have the big man in tights.
Yes.
And
Yes, yes,
the best thing was reading the back.
oh, 100%.
Part of the fun is reading the
Yeah,
back.
I
They're so
agree.
clever with their branding.
I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah.
But no, delicious. They're probably my favorite. Always come back to them. There's a lot of, I mean, look, we're really spoiled for choice. Huh?
I know.
Yeah.
I know. It's like it's going pick one. Can I pick 20?
Yeah, well, that's
Yeah.
it.
And
That's
that's the
it.
thing.
And sometimes it depends on the
Is
mood
it
you're in.
warm? Is
or the-
it hot?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
What do I sort of?
We're
do?
big, we definitely enjoy a red.
Yeah.
More, I would say more than a white.
Yeah.
So look, Ross Hill have some nice reds, Swinging Bridge. There's lots of places.
Yeah.
And I sometimes think it's not the ones that the tourists come and it's the one on the map that everyone
Yeah.
goes to. I
Yeah,
think,
that's right.
yeah,
There's those little small quirky
Sometimes,
places.
yeah.
Sometimes it's that whole atmosphere. It's not just the wine. It's the whole.
it's their
It's the
story.
vibe. It's
That's right.
going back to the castle. So yeah, that's a bit of fun. So how can our viewers and listeners find out a little bit more about the Clever Cookie Academy?
Well, they can watch our stupidness on social
yeah,
media.
We would love, look, we have a lot of friends, but we could always welcome more. No, we would love them to follow us on Instagram.
Yep.
We're on Facebook if they're more Facebook people.
Yep.
Our website has a good little contact us section, and we send, as we say, emails that don't suck. Join our newsletter, because it's not just about us selling what we're doing. We have recipes, we have book recommendations, little interviews, all sorts of things.
Go up and talk to Gay. That's probably
Oh,
Gay, our office manager. She's probably.
Yeah.
We have so many customers that go, I just had this lovely chat with her. I wanted to sign up myself, and I called for my child, but
Yeah.
I wanted to come in and talk to you. So yeah, she's probably.
most definitely, yeah. Any of those methods, we would love to hear from them.
Oh, that's amazing. So really, thank you for your time, just giving your insight and talking a little bit about your business journey.
Thank you for having us,
appreciate it.
and thanks for your initial advice. Who knows?
Mm,
Would we be here had we not gotten over that hurdle,
that's true.
Wayne? I'm not sure.
No problem. I think you would have done it.
Oh no, it was a chicken soup for the soul that morning. I definitely needed the calming, so thank you.
No problem. Thank you.